Hello and welcome to another exciting episode. These are our news updates for Sci-Fi Radio Theater. Today is May 6th. It's a Sunday. My hair looks insane because I just got back from fencing practice and my angry Ukrainian fencing coach made me go for an hour and a half as opposed to our normal hour. So I'm a bit flustered and my hair's a bit whacked out because I decided just to make this video now before I took a shower. So you get to see me in all my not so great smelling glory. So what have we been up to this week for Hyper Nocturnal? Well, before I get into Hyper Nocturnal, I guess I want to talk about a few other things we've been working on. I'll tease the Hyper Nocturnal stuff for later in this update. First and foremost, I wanted to announce, and I kind of announced this on our Twitter and everything already, but we've been nominated for a Parsec Award, which is very cool. Parsec Award is a yearly award that happens. They do it at Atlanta, at a convention in Atlanta, Dragon Con, and what it is that it's an award for science fiction podcasts. These include audio dramas, which is obviously the category we'll be competing in, as well as just sci-fi fan podcasts, behind-the-scenes type podcasts, story reading, like not necessarily audio dramas, but you just have like a written story that you read, like audiobook type things. So they really just cover the entire science fiction, fantasy, horror genre, and they give out awards every year, and we've been nominated for one. So that's really, really great. So thank you very much. God only knows if we'll win. There are a lot of people nominated. We sent in our stuff this week because you have to send in like an hour-long package to them. So we did that. I did that, and they said they received and looked good. So now we just kind of sit and wait and see what happens. So that's very cool. One thing I am particularly excited about is I was looking at the list of judges, and one of the judges is actually TV's Frank from Mystery Science Theater 3000, Frank Conniff, which is very cool for me because I am a huge Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan. So this is me officially kissing the ass of one of the judges. So anyway, that happened. That's very cool. What else do I want to talk about? Look at my list here. So I talked a little bit last week about computer stuff. So we are still working on transferring computers. Again, once that's done, I can sort of start working on getting the Ba Gua Etuis Box episodes up onto YouTube. I thought the issue that was happening with the computer, the new computer, which is actually sitting behind me on the table back there, I thought the issue with it was the hard drive. However, after doing some exploration and pressing my ear up against it, my brother and I actually discovered that it was not the hard drive, it was the fan on the processor, the CPU, so that's not good. However, that being stated, it is a good thing because, as it turns out, that fan is still under warranty. So call them up, there's going to be a repairman coming in, hopefully sometime next week, fixing the fan, and then we should be good to go. The computer should be all fixed, and we should be good to go to transfer everything over and get the Ba Gua Etuis Box up on YouTube. Start working on that. So that's good. Next thing I want to talk about is that yesterday we had a slight issue where, for some reason, I think we use a service called PodTrack. We use two services, FeedBurner and PodTrack, for tracking how many downloads we're getting. And for some reason, yesterday, PodTrack started doing a thing where you have to put the code in front of the file name in your RSS, right? And then it redirects to the actual file. And then when that redirect happens, that's how it tells if downloads are registered. For some reason, they must have changed something. Yesterday, what happened was that when it started redirecting, it made everything lowercase. And I know that's sort of standard practice, but what I have been doing is putting all of the episodes in proper casing, so have some letters in uppercase. So what happened is that when it started redirecting and making everything lowercase, it made it so that the RSS didn't work anymore, and then if you're on iTunes or on FeedBurner trying to get our stuff, it would just give me 404 errors. That's been fixed. It was only down for a few hours. Thank you very much to Callie for alerting us to that. One of our listeners, Callie, let us know this was happening. So we fixed it. Everything should be fine now. Thank God we only had 10 episodes we had to fix, so we were able to fix it in like 2 minutes. I heard some horror stories on Twitter, some people tweeting me from other podcasters who were having issues, but they had hundreds and hundreds of episodes they had to go back and fix. So I sympathize with those guys. That must suck. But we're okay now. We're all good. Everything should be able to download fine. So that issue was fixed. So now we're going to get into the big stuff, the important stuff, which is casting. So right now we're casting on Hyper Nocturnal. You know this already. We talked about it last week. We have been casting all week. We've been talking with a bunch of people. Had some people interested, had some people drop out, had some sort of false starts, some setbacks, which is normal. This is sort of, I kind of expected this. This is how it happened when we did the Ba Gua Etuis Box. We had people come in, people go out, just as time commitment, or they didn't like the material, or stuff like that. But we've currently casted 9 roles, so that's great. So we're about halfway there, pretty much. We have another 10 more to cast. Only 4 of these roles, though, that we're looking to cast are major roles. The rest of them are smaller roles, that characters that might only appear in one episode or only have a couple lines, things like that. So in that sense, we're doing very good that we only have 4 real major roles to fill right now. And those 4 major roles, we're actually currently talking with people. They have been offered out. And right now, we're just kind of in communication, talking with them, seeing if this is something that these people can do. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that. The main character has been cast, which is a huge thing. One of the other main characters has been cast, which is also a huge thing. And then the big one we're trying to fill right now is the third. I don't want to give too much away, but there's a third main character. It's going to be a difficult role to play, I think. But I think I have somebody who I think would do a really good job. So I'm just kind of holding my breath, waiting to hear back from them. So once I hear back and that's all confirmed, we'll be good to go. That being stated, again, as I said, we still have a bunch of these smaller roles, sort of one-off, one-liner roles still open. If you're interested, please shoot us an email at sci-fi-radiotheater@gmail.com and let us know that you're interested, and send us your audio demo, and if we like it, we'll get in contact with you, and we can try recording with you. What else do I want to say about that? Let me think. I feel like there's something else I wanted to say. Oh, and again, these 4 major roles we're trying to fill right now, nobody's agreed to anything, so God only knows, half of these people or all these people might drop out, which again happens sometimes. So, feel free to send your stuff off anyway, and, if something opens up, I'll get in contact with you if I think you're right. And then, on top of that, send us stuff anyway, even if nothing's open, because even though we might not have anything for you in this radio play, when we do the next one, we might. So, send your stuff off. I'd just like to keep it on record, frankly. Again, if you are interested, just as a heads up, we are a free podcast, and we aren't currently making any money, so we aren't able to pay anything. You're mostly just doing it for the sheer joy of making science fiction radio and radio dramas and horror and fantasy radio dramas. All right. And this, so basically the stage we're in, kind of the state of the union for Sci-Fi Radio Theater right now, and for Hyper Nocturnal, is that we're in the stage I hate the most, which is sitting and waiting. Because there's a lot of work to be done, but it's all sort of dependent, it's all very much dependent on people getting back to me. And sort of other people hearing back from, scheduling things. So this is the part that drives me nuts. This is the part where I get very anxious and crazy, because I'm a guy who doesn't really like sitting still. And you kind of have to in this point, because you're waiting for everybody else to get back to you. So that's sort of where we're at right now. It's probably going to be like this for another couple weeks, I'd imagine, until we kind of get people signed on, agreed. We can kind of really start scheduling the actual recording sessions. So we're probably going to be in a little bit of stagnation for the next couple weeks, just as a heads up, unfortunately. So, on other news, though, one thing I do want to say is I want to send out a big thank you to all of you guys who have been listening. We have had a massive week this last week in terms of downloads and interest. We were getting around 40 to 60 downloads a day, which is huge for us. We normally are getting around 13, and this last week, we only had one day where we had 14 downloads, and everything else was in between 40 to 60, 65 even downloads a day. So that's huge. Thank you guys so much. I'm glad everybody's finding it. Again, I'm not entirely sure where you've been finding it. I'm assuming it's just word of mouth, but for God's sakes, keep spreading it, keep telling everyone. It's so fantastic. that we're getting so much interest in it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, we got one thing I'm gonna start doing is as people leave us reviews and send us comments and questions, I'm just gonna read them right here. And on our iTunes page, we got another 5-star review, and another person left a comment. So, oh, by the way, before I start that, I read a comment that somebody sent us last week. That person, I said's name was Pottermore. That was wrong. Their name was actually Potterworm. So sorry about that. Just wanted to correct that. The person who left us the 5-star review, his name was Potterworm. This week, the person that left us our 5-star review is somebody named Kansas Rose 6. The title of the review is Great Show, and she writes, "A good listen. Storyline is great, funny, and the plot keeps me interested in what's going to happen next. Couldn't wait to download the rest. The actors are really good. Highly recommend to take a listen. You won't be disappointed." So thank you very much. There's a lovely review. I am flattered. I'm glad you're enjoying the acting and the writing and everything, and I'm sure you'll like the next one. So thank you so much for the review. Again, please keep sending us those 5-star reviews because, I'm egotistical and I like seeing them, and I will give you 5 seconds of fame on this highly, highly famous news update series that I do if you leave a review, and I'll tell everybody what you wrote. Okay. So the last thing I want to say is that we actually got a question from a listener named Paul. I'm going to answer his question. He wanted to know how we make the robot walking noises in the Ba Gua Etuis Box. So I think what this is referring to is, when Martin and Peter are walking, wah, chink, wah, chink, wah, chink, that noise as they're kind of moving their legs and taking a step. He wants to know how that noise is made, so I'm going to tell you. So that noise is made, that sound effect is made with 2 sounds. The first sound comes from this. This is, I have high blood pressure, so I have a high blood pressure cuff. And what this does is it basically just tells me what my blood pressure is. Is it high? Is it low? Whatever. When you hit the button, it makes this noise when that's actually starting to take the blood pressure. So what I did with that is I recorded, so the first part of the footstep is of that wah, as the leg is moving, that's this. What I did is I put that, I then put a few filters on it to sort of adjust what the volume was and then what the pitch was, and then I alternated the pitch so it didn't sound, so it sounded like there was movement, because you'll listen and the noise won't always be the same for each footstep. It'll be like wah, 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 wah. There'll be a different pitch sound. That's again just to give the illusion of movement is happening, but that basic wah comes from my blood pressure cuff, which I then put some filters on. And then the second part of that noise is a tink, kind of as metal touching, sounding like something metal touching the ground. So that noise was actually made when I first started recording the Ba Gua Etuis Box and started making sound effects. Again, this is my first time doing any kind of audio drama, audio editing, sound effect stuff at all. So I went to the basement of my apartment building, into the boiler room, and just started looking around for anything I could bang and make noises with. And down in there was a bicycle pump with a metal steel base. And so what I did is I took that bicycle pump and I used my phone, and I held the phone down to the floor, and I just took the bicycle pump and started smashing it on the floor, on the concrete floor. And that's where that noise came from. This is just me taking this metal bicycle pump and just smashing it on the floor, so you get that chink, chink noise. So to answer your question, Paul, that's where those 2 noises come from. It's my blood pressure cuff and a metal bicycle pump getting smashed on a concrete floor. That's how the robot noises are made. So I love those kind of questions. If you guys have any of those kind of questions, send them to me. I will answer them on here. I love answering that kind of stuff. Sci-Fi Radio Theater at gmail.com. And I think that's it. I think that's about the update for this week. Thank you guys for listening, and I guess I'll see you next week for another news update. And again, keep following us on Twitter at SF Radio Theater, and keep sending your emails at sci-fi radiotheater at gmail.com. Thank you very much. Bye.